The friction principle, one of the most powerful concepts when it comes to running a 3D print farm and Etsy shop, and one you have to master if you want success. Thankfully, it's also one of the simplest, and you probably deal with it on a day-to-day basis already. Stick around, we're going to touch on what it is and go over 3 areas where you have to master it if you want to see your Etsy shop and your 3D printing business grow. Welcome to the channel, everybody. My name is Sam. I run a 3D print farm from underneath my garage. I have over 8,000 sales. I have over 2,000 5-star reviews, and I am a top 1% seller on Etsy. As 3D print farm managers, as Etsy shop owners, we have endless amounts of tasks that we have to do daily, weekly, or even monthly. If you have that task or two that you always put off, that you drag your feet on, that you just don't like doing, you have probably already run into this friction principle that we're going to talk about today. The friction principle is a pretty simple idea. If you have a task that you don't like doing, there is some element of that task that is creating a friction point in your life that is making you not want to do it. More than likely, if the task falls into this category, it's a repetitive task. It's something you've done once, twice, 100 times, 1,000 times, and you're to the point where there's something about that task, either the task itself or it's the build up to that task, that is causing you to have burnout from it and you just don't want to do it anymore. It's easy to try to write these tasks off as, I just don't like doing it, it's not my skill set, maybe if I do it more, I'll get better at it and then it'll become easier. Those are lies we tell ourselves to avoid the real problem. More than likely, those things we tell ourselves are not the case, and there is some fundamental element about that task that is creating friction in your life, and it needs to be addressed. It's at this point where we need to have self-awareness. We need to take a step back, look at the big picture, and say, what about this task, this thing I'm doing, do I not like, is creating friction? What's hard about this? This is the first step in mastering the friction principle. You need to be able to take a step back and take an honest account of what you don't like about these tasks. Part of my business here at 3D Design Bros is actually licensing out the right for other 3D printing creators to print and sell physical copies of my models that I've designed for a monthly licensing fee. Because of this, I get a lot of people reaching out and asking if they can use some of my marketing materials in their own listings for the product. Essentially what they're telling me is, I'm running into a friction principle, I don't know what it is, I don't know how to deal with it, so rather than deal with it, can I just use your stuff to make my life easier? The most common friction point I see with people is when they're going to create their new Etsy listing. We all know Etsy is a complete numbers game. The more listings you have, the more views you get. The more views you get, the more clicks you have. The more clicks you have, the more sales you get. So if you are up against a friction point when it comes to getting new listings to market, that friction is having a direct correlation to your income potential. Let's talk about the 3 areas I see people struggling the most when it comes to getting new Etsy listings up. And I'm going to offer some tips on ways you can master the friction principle in these areas so you can focus less on these mundane, repetitive tasks and more on growing your shop. Like I said, I do sell the commercial rights to our models. It's all the models that generate me 6 figures of income, 8,000 plus sales on Etsy, 2,000 5-star reviews. So if you are looking for a catalog of models to be the foundation of your new Etsy shop, your new Amazon shop, whatever it may be, I would love the opportunity to supply you with those models. If you are interested in signing up for that, you can do so either at our Patreon or our Things page. Both of those are linked below. All right, the first area we're going to talk about, listing pictures. I get this request more than anything else, and that's, can I use your listing pictures in my own listing? People struggle with pictures, and it's understandable. We all want our pictures to be great. It is the first impression we give to a prospective buyer is the listing pictures themselves, so they do need to be good. And if you are not confident in your picture taking ability, it can be a huge pain point and friction point in your business. What I see most is people getting caught in this loop when it comes to listing pictures. They get a new product, they need to take listing pictures of it. So they get an area in their house, they clear off a desk, they get a new table, they get their backdrop set up, they do whatever they gotta do to make a nice area, they get their lights out, and then they get their camera in front of the product. The next thing they do is they figure out their angles, they figure out their lighting. If they're using a fancy camera, they figure out their ISO, they figure out their depth of field, they figure out their aperture. They do all these things. It takes a lot of work and a lot of energy to get the pictures just right. They then take their pictures and they have good pictures. There's nothing wrong with them. They post their listing and they go about their day. Here's where the friction comes in though. Next week, they have a new listing But in the time it took them to post their last listing and their new listing, the table has become full of junk. The camera got moved to do something else. The lights got taken down because it was a lamp we stole from the living room and the wife wanted it back. So life happened all around us for that whole week, and now here we are back at square one, needing to take listing pictures, and we have to start the process all over, and we have to relearn everything we did last week again. Obviously, you do that 1, 2, 3 times, and the next time, the idea of getting the camera out, getting the backdrop out, getting the lights out, cleaning up, becomes a very daunting task and one that nobody wants to do. And then what ends up happening is we get new products that just sit on a table and they never actually make it to Etsy, or we do a worse thing and we set the product up in a corner with bad lighting, we snap a few photos of it, we list it, we get no sales, and we ask ourselves, why isn't this product selling? I have a solution to your problem, and it's a simple one. You need a dedicated area just for pictures. I don't care if it's a corner in your living room where you have a little 12-inch table sitting there. I don't care if it's a full-blown studio in your basement with professional backdrops, studio lights, a DSLR camera. It doesn't matter what your setup is. You just need a setup that is always there and always ready for you. That way, when you have a new product and you're ready to list it, you can take that product, you set it down on your table. The product is in the same spot your last product was, so now we are developing consistency with our listing images, which is always a good thing. And we've removed a huge friction point of having to relearn our camera settings, having to relearn the best angle, having to relearn our lighting settings. We've removed all that. We can just plop a product down, take a picture in the same spot we took it last time, and we're off and running, and we have another Etsy listing up, ready to produce us income. If you guys are interested in seeing our studio gear, we have it all linked below. Keep in mind, it is not the most expensive setup you can have, but it's also not the most budget-friendly setup. All of the gear we use day to day to take our pictures, to do our YouTube videos, to do our TikTok shorts, is about a $1,500 setup between all the gear we use. So if you are looking to make an investment into your business, I think it's a good starting point. If you are looking to just get started with your very first Etsy listing though, it's probably overkill. You just need a phone and some good lights. But anyway, if you're interested, you can see it in the links below. The second area I see people struggling the most with friction and pain points is their Etsy description. Most of the Etsy listing process is relatively easy and it's plug and play. However, there is the section that we all kind of dread, and it's the blank description box where we have to somehow portray to the potential customers that they need this product, they want this product, it's a good product, and what they read in there will take them from just looking to buying. I'm not a great writer to start with, so it took me a lot of time to get good Etsy descriptions. And because of that, it reduced the amount of listings I posted because I didn't enjoy doing it, so I would put it off. And once again, I'm running into this friction principle where it's costing me listings because I have a pain point in my process of creating a listing for Etsy. Enter ChatGPT. If you are not using it, you have to. It is a game changer when it comes to Etsy descriptions. All you need is a base outline of your Etsy title. Get in the ChatGPT, say, write me an Etsy description based off the following title, copy and paste your title in there, and within seconds, it will spit you out an Etsy description that is 90% complete and more than likely better than you would have been able to write on your own. I say it's 90% there because at the end of the day, it is AI. So make sure you read through it. Make sure the description fits the feel and the vibe of your shop. And then if you've been on Etsy for any amount of time, I'm sure you have a section at the bottom of your listings that I call the disclaimer section. Talks about your shop procedures, your policies, whatever it may be. Make sure you include that in there. And you have now an Etsy listing with a description that is ready to be posted, and you removed a huge friction point in this process of taking an idea to an Etsy listing. What I want to talk about last is keywords. This is an area I see people struggle with as well. They get to the section of the listing where they do keywords and they just start plugging in generic keywords they think of on the spot. Now, I don't want to dismiss that exercise entirely because it is important to put yourself in the shoes of the customer. At the end of the day, they're coming to Etsy, they're going to the search box, and they're doing just that. They're putting in the search box, whatever thoughts and keywords come to their head that they think will get them the results of the product they're looking for. A big mistake people make though is thinking that the way they search for something and the words they use in their vocabulary is the words everybody uses in their vocabulary, and it's not the case. Enter our second tool that we're going to use to help remove friction in our listing process, and that is a keyword research tool. I am partial to Erank. I have used it for my entire Etsy career. I like how they do it. I understand it. It's the one I've chosen to use. You can use that. You can use others. Doesn't matter. All that matters is you do some amount of keyword research for your listing, looking at your competitors, looking at other listings that are similar, and understanding what keywords people are actually searching to find that product. It doesn't do any good to get a listing up, to put crappy keywords in, and then no one finds it. So eliminate that friction point of having to come up with new keywords. Go to Erank, go to a different keyword research tool, type in your one keyword that you think best describes your product, and let them show you a list of the most popular keywords that are similar to that, so you know what terms people are actually searching. And it eliminates the whole brain power of having to come up with these 13 unique keywords to get people to see your listing. Like I said, I use Erank every day in my business. I do have it linked below if you're interested in checking it out. They have free plans and they also have paid plans. So depending on where you are in your Etsy journey, you can determine which one is best for you. But if you're interested, check the links. It'll take you there and you can learn all about Erank and the services they provide. So I don't know if you noticed, but there is an overarching theme to all of these solutions I provided to these friction points in your business. You need to have systems in place. I don't care if you're an Etsy shop or any other business. If you want to scale and grow, you have to lean on systems and templates to do so. It takes way too much brain power to start every recurring task from scratch. You need to have a template in place or a system in place so you can do it without having to devote all your brain power to it, so you can reserve that brain power for other tasks that result in growth of your business. It's one of the biggest reasons why I see people give up and fail before they have any amount of success. Systemize what you can so you can reserve that brain power for tasks that help your shop grow, not the mundane tasks like product pictures, Etsy descriptions, and keyword research. Now that we understand and can recognize the friction principle and when it's in play, I hope you take a step back, look at your entire business, and see if you can identify other friction points that you can eliminate by creating some sort of system to accomplish it. If you want to see 4 apps I use every day to help me create systems so I don't get burnt out, check out our YouTube video, Achieving 8,000 Etsy Sales with 4 Game-Changing Apps. We'll see you over there.